My understanding is that outside there have been gang members kind of prowling around and certainly looking for the potential new recruits. I think we always have to be vigilant for that around the school setting.
Chief, is this really gang activity? Do we have a gang in Rutland?
Yes, we do. I'm not saying that we have an organized operating chapter, but we certainly have very strong evidence that the Los Salidos gang, which is has moved up here, or moved some of its membership up here from Massachusetts and Connecticut, and we know that they're here. We have reason to believe that they are here to establish a chapter, and they're definitely here.
Mayor, are the people taking this serious? You've had a couple of community meetings, you've talked with a bunch of people in Rutland. What's the general feeling? Are they taking this serious?
Well, I think there's mixed reviews out there. I've personally been very impressed by the degree to which the vast majority of the people that I've talked to and heard from are taking it seriously. There's a lot of questions, and that's why I really appreciate you and Channel 15 and so forth providing this opportunity for people who haven't been at community meetings or might not have had another opportunity to ask a question to do so tonight. I want to say thank you up front so I don't forget later on, because there are a lot of questions out there and there's a lot of misunderstanding. But I think generally speaking, the community is very much aware that something's going on. There's a lot of concern about it. Sometimes the concern is overstated, and sometimes I think the concern is understated. And what I'm fearful of and want to try to get right is to make sure that people in the community understand that I think there is a real risk and a real threat, but the risk and the threat is principally to our young people, and not to our personal safety, and not to our way of life, at least not at this point, maybe a year or 2 years down the road if we don't address this issue. But right now, the risk is to the young people. And that's where we've got to focus all our energies and our attentions in order to meet that challenge. And so your original question to Leaf was, I think, right on the money.
Well, folks, we're ready to start taking your phone calls. The numbers are coming up on your screen. Chief, that was a pretty graphic little film clip there. Think maybe we have any non-believers out there still?
Well, I hope we don't have any non-believers. The very thing that we're trying to do, and the reason we show this film, is we're trying to do it just exactly opposite the way that Davenport responded. They waited until it came to the white community, and these 5 white boys killed this white girl, and all of a sudden they realized how big the problem was. Now they're all demanding all the schools and demanding some education on it. We're taking the other approach. We were very fortunate when we learned that the gang was here early, and our response has been to let's go the education route first. That's why we're doing a lot of the public forums that we're doing.
We have our first phone call. Let's go for it. Hello and welcome to Channel 15. You're on the air.
Yes, hi. What I need to know, or what I'd like to know is, do you think that these so-called gang members crave on the attention that we, the media, have been giving them? Do you think that that's a problem? I mean, do they like the attention they're getting, and the more they get, the more they're going to retaliate? Or, I mean, that's my question.
Thanks. Dean, that sounds like a question for you. What do you think?
I don't think that they crave the attention, and especially at this point in time, I would think that they would want to stay low or really out of the spotlight as much as possible. That way they can start to woo the young from around here. And it is a very insidious wooing of the kids over to their side and thinking.
Chief, that brings up another question. Do you think that this whole incident with the riot in front of this club and the Maple Street, everything, was something they really didn't want at that point in time?
Exactly. Dean's exactly right. I don't think they want the attention that they've received. Now, obviously, some of them may like it in terms of getting their picture in the paper and a few things like that. That's kind of a novelty thing. But I really don't think that the gang leadership appreciates it. I mean, I don't think they like it at all, and I think the intent when they came here was to be very silent and to try to win the admiration of our local youth, recruit a number of them, and be here and get well established before it was recognized that they were even here. So this publicity really has been to their disadvantage.
Well, there was always the concern, and we had this concern early on, that we would, by making an issue of this and bringing this stuff out very early, right up front, and going to the public, with the educational stuff and putting the forms and this occasion here together, that we'd be drawing attention to it so that kids who are at risk or kids who might be enamored of that kind of a risky, dangerous lifestyle might go seeking it. And that obviously is a risk that we're running, and I'll say it right up front. I think the caller, that may have been the second part of the question if she'd had a chance to ask it. However, our concern was that I don't see how we can expect parents in the community, because we're talking about kids 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years of age, basically, is where we're really looking, and what they're looking in terms of the vulnerable population. I don't see how we can expect the parents of the community to exercise a good, sound parental discretion on behalf of their children if they're being told by the officials in the community that there isn't a problem, which is, or ignoring the problem and not having it been brought to their attention. So I think that, our judgment, and looking what happened in Davenport and many other places, was kind of the clincher in making the decision, was that while we know we're running a risk of drawing attention to this, which might actually contribute to some people seeking it out, that if we don't arm the parents of our youngsters with the information and the concern and then the tools to deal with it, then we have committed a much greater disservice for the community than would be the case by keeping quiet and hoping that nobody notices. The truth is, these folks are pros. They're smooth as glass. They're the nicest people you'd ever want to meet. They're loving, they're decent, they're kind, they're generous, and they're very non-judgmental, they're very open and welcoming. Dean mentioned during the tape was running that it's like a cult in terms of how it's done. It's done very slowly. You build confidence. There have been rumors in this community recently, understandable because of the public attention, rumors about, some scheduled assassination of a police officer and things like that. I personally think this stuff is all ludicrous. It's absolutely nuts. Not only is it contrary to what the interests of this particular gang are at this point, but this kind of stuff actually feeds what they're trying to do. Johnny Jones, Mom knows Johnny Jones is hanging out with some of these gang members. Mom hears a rumor. Something's going to happen. Mom says, stay away, something's going to happen. Johnny says, yeah, I don't think so. These are nice guys. Johnny goes to the guys. My mother tells me, there's going to be a police officer shot. And they say, oh, that's ridiculous. That's the kind of garbage that's spread about us everywhere we go. And, of course, nothing happens. Now, who's Johnny going to believe next time? It serves the interests of the gang for these rumors to get out there. It serves the interests of the confidence that they're trying to build with the young people to have the adult and the official population overreact to unreal things, and then to prove through their own inaction that they're more trustworthy and more credible than the adults. I'm real concerned about that, and we've got to just do our job and make sure that the parents know what they can do and what they shouldn't do and so forth to deal with this issue.
Folks, our phone lines are still open. We're waiting for your calls. Come on, call in. We're waiting to answer them. Chief, I question what's in this for the average white Vermont kid. What does he want to get into this stuff for? I saw what they said on the tape, but what's your opinion?
Well, I think there are a number of kids, and I don't know what that percentage is or what the actual number is, that they're not getting sufficient attention at home or in the schools. They're not necessarily being successful in whatever they've tried in their life. And the gang offers them, as Jeff mentioned, the gang offers them some assurance that they're all right, offers them some love, some warmth, some protection. Even in some cases say they can get them jobs. In some cases, I know one case where the gang offered them a high school diploma. I don't know how they'll ever be able to produce that, but the fact is they offer them the things they don't have. And I think there's a fascination and sort of a romanticizing of the whole gang mentality. People who may have even been oppressed are now rising to some degree of influence through the gang, and that's romantic perhaps to some of them. There are a lot of things that may appeal to them.
Let's go to our next call here. Hello and welcome to Channel 15. You're on the air. Guess not. Dean, I understand you were with in another city where something like similar to this happened. Want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it's Windsor, Ontario, Canada. It's just across the bridge from Detroit, Michigan. And approximately 3 or 4 years ago, the gang started coming in. This is a city of approximately 200,000 people. And outside of it, another 50,000. So it's much larger, about a 250,000. At that point in time, the community tried to do something, but because it was so large, they really couldn't. And again, it's so insidious. They're very quiet about what they do, and they just slowly built their ranks to the point that they could suddenly go public, and that's when they started marking with graffiti and started doing shootings and that sort of thing. It was really, there was little we could do because it was such a large city, and the schools, we really didn't have a lot of chance because we didn't get the call to arms, as one might say, before they were in there. It was after the fact.
The phone lines are open. I goofed on that call, caller. Please call back. My fault. Chief, one thing I'm curious about, I work in downtown Rutland, as you know. I'm from a little town right outside New York City. I know what gang members look like, what they wear, and how they dress. You know, get a feeling for this. I've had a feeling for probably 6 months that there was a lot of strange kids that look a lot like gang kids to me running around town. Yet I've heard you say that you picked up on this when we had the first incidents. Is that right?
Yes. We weren't really aware that there was an organized gang, and certainly we weren't aware that it was the Los Salitos prior to the weekend of July 30th. This time of year and in the summertime, we do get a number of people that come into town, new kids and what have you. The Job Corps brings in some of them. We also get college kids that come here to look at the colleges, and some of them are athletes that are here. And we didn't really notice the colors. Frankly, we really didn't have that on our mind. And even though there may have been some indication that something looked different, we weren't really aware that the gang was here until that incident on Maple Street.
Let's go to the phones here. Hello and welcome to Channel 15. You're on the air.
Hello. My question is, what is the community doing to promote the well-being of the youth in the community now, so as to distract them from this kind of activity?
Thanks for your call. We'll give that one to Leaf. Leaf?
It's a very good question. Thank you for asking it. We've been having a series of meetings as of late with respect to a youth or teen center. We're working on that right now. We are trying to do other things with the young people in the community. The Recreation and Parks Department heavily focuses on the 12 and underage population, a number of programs for the junior high, but the high school, I think that perhaps is one of our weak links. And I have to say that right up front. But working with the school system, working with other organizations in the community, I think we can beef that up and assist that age population, and especially with those that are at risk. There are a lot of activities for young people in Rutland. It's that fringe population that I think we really want to begin working with and for to identify. Watching that tape was extremely sobering for me. To lose one of those kids, one of our children, to what I saw on TV is truly a tragedy. And I think the mayor mentioned it the other day in a meeting that we want to have as a goal to have 100% of those kids avoid that sort of situation. So that will be my personal goal, to work for all of these kids here to try to provide them with meaningful, substantive life skills that'll help their self-esteem, their self-concept, give them the kind of tools and skills they need to deal in the adult world.
Okay, let's go to another call here. Hello and welcome to Channel 15. You're on the air.
Hello. I would like to ask a question of the mayor and the city police. These people have come in our city unwelcomed. Do our officials have the right to escort them out? What rights do we have?
Thanks for your call. I'll put that to the mayor and the chief.
Well, I'll give the quick answer, and I'll let the chief give the right answer. The real issue is obviously anybody. It's a free country, and there's nothing against the law for being a member of Los Solitos or a particular church or any other group. It is the behavior that goes with that tends to be, and in this case, almost always becomes illegal or antisocial or self-destructive. And so we have a very difficult time. Now, there are certain things that the police department has done with a number of the folks that have come here. And I'll let the chief answer that. But generally speaking, the issue is one of reaction. We have to react to the behavior that happens, the criminal activity or whatever. If it isn't happening, then basically it's a matter of monitoring and just keeping an eye out. The best thing that we can do at this stage is to make sure that as few of our young people as possible find themselves associating with and signing up, if you will, with this organization.
Well, the mayor is absolutely right. We cannot legally ask them to leave. I wouldn't ask them to leave any more than anybody else just because they were unwanted. But let me point out, they're not necessarily unwanted, and this is some of the dangers that the mayor is referring to. They have a following already in this community. They have a following of our young people, a substantial following. And those young people that seem to admire them and believe in them have helped them out. They've helped them out financially. In some cases, they've invited them into their homes to stay there or provided them with food and other things. So they're not entirely unwelcome. They're welcomed by one segment, at least, of our community. And like the mayor said, part of our job is to educate that community that has welcomed them into the kinds of things they will represent if they get a foothold here.
We'll take another call, folks. The numbers are on your screen. Keep calling in. Don't get discouraged. Keep at it. We'll get you in sometime. Hello and welcome to Channel 15. You're on the air.
Yes. My question is for the mayor, the police chief, and even the director of the rec department. When I went through high school, there wasn't a lot for the teens to do in the area. And now with the possible closing of the getaway club and the curfew that's going to be imposed on the clubs, it's going to give the teens even less to do, making it more prone for them to, go towards the gang side of things because there's nothing else for them to do. Has anybody thought of other things for the teens to do at night?
Thanks for your call. We'll put that to one of the people. Why don't one of you answer that since we have calls backing up here?
I'll take a shot at it. But I'm a little old-fashioned, and he may not like my answer. There are things to do. It's not simply what he's suggesting we give them things to do at night. What time at night? I think there's a certain time at night. It's time to go home. And if you're not home and you wander in the streets looking for something to do, frankly, most of those things that would be available to you would probably be unlawful. And I really believe that we have to hold the parents responsible, provide something and a place to live and some support and security in the home, so there's a reason for these kids to go home. But part of this about having something to do, we could all think of many things that we could provide for our kids, and for the average kids, they'd find lots to do. We have to look at some of the unique individual problems of these kids that are troubled and attack them individually. In other words, if there's some kid that's joined it because whatever his problem is, he may not like athletics, he may not like joining some other kinds of clubs and so forth. We have to find what we can provide for him. And I don't know necessarily what that is, but we need to also establish some dialogue with the existing club members and those that are wannabes that are trying to get into the gang, and try to determine what we can do to help them.
Before we go to the next call, I'm as old-fashioned as you are, and I had things to do. It's called chores and homework.
Can I just, before I take the next call quickly, because Dean has put together a support group for parents and young people who are either at risk or concerned about maybe their children being associated with this, maybe you ought to give a phone number or something now, because that kind of feeds on what the chief just said.
Certainly, and I was at a board meeting of a group of private practitioners, approximately 30 to 35 private practitioners last night, social workers, psychologists, mental health workers around the community. And I spoke to them, and they also want to get on board and do whatever they can. They're willing to donate whatever they need to. They're poised to help. If you would like to get possibly involved in a support group or even individual treatment, learn how to talk to your children so that they'll listen, you can get a hold of me at the school board at 773-1917, and at that point in time we'll try to organize something. My problem is that a lot of parents are really reluctant to get involved because they're afraid of retaliation from the gang. Several of them have been told, you don't do anything, don't get involved. And so we're working against that. Also, the previous caller, what we are doing in the school district right now, as well as all of Rutland County, is a survey is going out to all high school students, posing questions such as, what do the young people of Rutland County need? What do some of the kids on the fringe need? What are the gaps that we're leaving? Both not only in recreation, but also in, as Jeff has said, the safety net. And so we're going to be getting those results together, and then at a meeting, I believe on the 15th, we're going to be talking about those, finding what those holes are, and trying to patch them up at that time.
Let's keep taking calls here because we've got a good bunch. Hello and welcome to Channel 15. You're on the air.
Yes, I'd like to know, why have the gangs picked Rutland, and what is their purpose once they've recruited these people? What is their ultimate goal?
Thank you. I'll pose that question to one of our panel.
Let me take a stab at the first half, and I'll let the chief take a stab at the second half. The why Rutland? If you saw the Davenport, Iowa tape, Davenport, Iowa isn't Rutland, okay? It's similar in some ways, but it isn't the same. But in some ways, it's very similar. It is at a crossroads between major metropolitan areas. That is the case with Rutland. We're 4 hours from New York, 3 hours from Boston, 3 hours from Montreal, and all of these cities have faced this situation, as well as other communities, Hartford, Springfield, Holyoke, Massachusetts, even closer. So the proximity is one issue. There's another issue, and that issue is that one of the objectives in the charter, if you will, of the Solitos gang is to establish a chapter, an organization, in every state in the nation. And I'm assuming that there isn't one currently operating in Vermont. So if they were looking for a place in Vermont, the opportunities are reasonably few and obvious. And Rutland is going to be first or second on the list, probably almost any list that you come together, put together. As for what their purpose is once they get their membership up, I'll leave that to the chief.
Well, I think we have to realize that there is a market for drugs in Rutland, and that there is currently no particular organization that controls drug traffic in Rutland or drugs sales at all. By having and establishing an organization that frankly is supported throughout all the other chapters through the sale of drugs and prostitution and criminal extortion, that's how they make their money and that's how they exist. We can only assume that that's their intent in coming here eventually when they finally get when they're finally established. But one of the advantages they have is because there's no present organization controlling those, they can move in here, and since they won't have any competition with other gangs and so forth, and I think they may have sold law enforcement a little bit short in Vermont as well, but they could come here, excuse me, and get established, and frankly I can see where they could be profitable. There's another thought, and I don't know that any of these are the total reason, but there's another thought. They may be looking for a safe haven for some of their people who may be warrants out for in another state, or who may be selling drugs someplace else and gets a little hot and they can move them and hide them in Vermont, things like that. So they could have sort of a safe haven here for operations even in other states. There's a number of reasons they could be here. We don't really know. We can only assume from their past history that they didn't come here to join the Boy Scouts.
Okay. The phone calls are coming in hot and heavy. The numbers are on your screen. You can see them. Don't get discouraged. Keep trying. We'll get you in there somehow. Hello and welcome to Rutland 15. You're on the air.
Well, I'm not really asking a question. It's sort of a two-part thing. You made a comment about how people dress. I wear baggy clothes and all that stuff, but I have absolutely nothing to do with this gang. And another thing of it is, a bunch of us were at the fair, I think, a couple days ago. We're from the College of St. Joe's. I think there was maybe 4 black kids and 4 white kids, and we were wearing red, white, and blue colors. That's our school colors. And we had like 4 police officers following us around the fair. And it sort of upset me. And I just wanted to make that comment that I think some of this has been a little bit blown out of proportion. I don't know what you think about that, but
Let me take a
Thanks for your call.
take a quick stab at that one. First of all, fashion is fashion. And, I mean, I've got a 3-year-old who won't go out without a baseball cap on backwards and all the rest of that. And as far as I'm concerned, it's cute as heck. So that's not the issue. And we shouldn't judge people because even in spite of our fear and our concern that we may have because of what seems to be transpiring here, we can't judge people on the basis of their dress. We can't judge them on the basis of certainly not of the color of their skin or anything like that. The unfortunate thing here is that because of the nature of the demographics, the fact that we're nearly 100% white community, that there is going to be kind of a natural tendency to be, on alert. And when you see somebody that doesn't quite fit, there's going to be that question. I've done it myself. And I know exactly the complaint that this young man is issuing. One thing that I would suggest that we could do is maybe as members of the community is try to make a conscious effort not to do that. But with the police department, become known to the police department. As a young person in the community has no business and don't want anything to do with this, introduce yourself and let them know that you're here to go to the college. And once that identification is set up, I can assure you, it won't be an issue from that point forward. But the police officers are understandably also looking to see whether new people are coming up to reinforce, if you will, the group that was here earlier. I don't know, I'll let the chief fill in.
First, let me point out that all of the Salidos are not black. That's a multi-ethnic organization. They're one of the few gangs, as a matter of fact, in New England, that are multi-ethnic. They accept blacks, Hispanics, whites, and the numbers in terms of the gangs growing. There are more and more whites joining the gangs than in any other ethnic group, and joining the Salidos. So it's not just a black issue. Sometimes, or just an ethnic issue at all. But sometimes when we see somebody there that maybe with the colors and this at the fair or whatever, you don't get a good look at them, and you want to walk closer to see if it's somebody that you do know from their photographs or in the gang, so we can note that and where they are and what they're doing. Now I can understand that if you're walking through and a policeman looks at you from over here and another one up here and down the road gets a look at you, he may be trying to determine whether you're one of the people that he does know, and they make note of it. If it is not, there's no other reason to believe that he was in the gang, he'd simply leave. And I'm sure they didn't stay with him all night for that reason.
Let's go back to the phones here. Hello and welcome to Channel 15. You're on the air.
Yes, I have a question for the mayor. Why is it now so important that you take care of the youth, since the indications are that a gang will be coming in, or is trying to move in, or is already here? Whereas, say, a year and a half, 2 years ago, there wasn't very much said publicly about what can we do to entertain our youth or to help guide our youth.
Thanks for your call. I'll put that to the mayor. Well, Mayor.
Well, that's laying it right on the line. I agree and I disagree. I agree basically with the basic premise that the attention that any of us, either as individuals or as public officials or whatever, are going to focus on a particular group or a particular issue or a particular problem is going to be directed to a certain degree by how high that problem is on the priority list, where it falls in terms of urgency. And clearly, the sudden knowledge that there was a concerted, organized effort to create a chapter of the Solitos gang in the city of Rutland, in the Rutland area, as you can plainly see, made this a top of the agenda item for, I think, for the whole community. So, yes, you're absolutely right. It took something like this to bring that right up to the top of the agenda. Is that right, or are we particularly proud of the fact that that happened? Not necessarily, no. I'm trying to be straight with you. On the other hand, we haven't ignored or just set aside and ignored the needs of young people. And I know that Leif and his department have done some marvelous things. Part of it, quite frankly, has been that we haven't maybe done a very good job of celebrating what we do. And we haven't done a very good job of celebrating the achievements and the work of the young people in this community who are doing fabulous things. One of the points on our 6-point plan to address this issue is to celebrate the achievements and the positive things that the young people of the community are contributing, and quite frankly have been contributing for a long time, but maybe not with the recognition or the degree of public recognition that it deserves. We're making a conscious effort to do that now, as well as to ask the young people through the survey as to where the gaps are. We're doing that with the social service agencies, and I know Leif is working overtime to work with his people in terms of the recreational and sports and those kinds of opportunities that we knew there were gaps there, but quite frankly our efforts have been redoubled as a result of this, and maybe if we'd had a higher priority of it a little earlier on, we wouldn't be playing as much catch-up right now. So,
folks, keep trying. The numbers are on your screen. Keep coming at us. If this show keeps going as the way it is with calls coming in, don't worry, we'll roll right over into the next hour, and we'll go till your calls end. Thank you. Hello and welcome to Channel 15. You're on the air.
Yes, I am calling to see if they had decided on the curfew in the city of Rutland for the children and the teenagers.
Thanks. I'll put that call to the chief and see what happens here.
Well, there's been no decision in the city to have a curfew. There's been talk about it at some of the forums that we have had, but there's been no ordinance that's been offered that I know of for a curfew, and I doubt that it will be.
I think there's interest on the part of a few members of the Board of Aldermen, maybe more than a few, but I know of several members that have expressed an interest, and we've heard a lot of public interest, mostly from these community meetings that we've had. That's an issue, I think, that I've said in the meetings, I'll say it again, that deserves serious consideration, and there is no emergency, quote unquote, that requires an emergency ordinance to be passed. But it's one, I think, that there's a lot of public sentiment in support of it, and it needs to be thought through, and it's very important, I think, as we look at this, and I'm sure the Board of Aldermen is going to take it up, but as to what they're going to do or how they're going to do it, I don't think anybody knows. But I think we have to be very careful to make sure that we don't alienate, through the process and through the result, the very group that we're trying to be inclusive here, the young folks. If the perception is that the adults are just erecting walls and not even listening to these folks, to the young people in the community, we might have a curfew that might work, but it might do more harm than good in terms of those connections that we're trying to build. So I think it's got to be a good process, it's got to be a solid process, it's got to be an inclusive process. And hopefully, if anything is done, and I know there's a lot of sentiment people want to see something done, if anything is done, it's done in a way that all of the people affected by it, including the young people who are most directly affected by it, understand and support the result. And that's not going to happen if we work on our own. It's going to require a bigger process.
Okay, let's take our next call here. Hello and welcome to Channel 15. You're on the air.
Hi. First of all, I'd like to say that, I think that the mayor and the police department have done, based on the experience that we've had with the situation, I think they've done probably about as good a job as you can expect. As far as the curfew goes, I would like to say that, as a father of kids in the Rutland City, I would not object to it. I certainly hope it doesn't come to that. But, the bottom line is it's been used in the city as an effective deterrent to problems before. If it has to, then we have to. If we had to, it probably would not be a permanent situation. My question for the chief of police is, we can answer the situations that pop up with the gangs. My question is, in the long view, can we expect that they're going to continually try and pry their way into the city, or are they eventually going to have enough and move on?
Thanks for your call. I'll put that to the chief.
That's dependent upon how successful we are in some of our enforcement efforts. We have a number of things going on that, frankly, I can't speak of right now. But in terms of enforcement efforts, we will continue. I think in terms of the public notice, public education, the parents are becoming more aware, and I think that they will be discouraged by if we're successful in that area, because they simply won't be able to recruit. And I think they will become identifiable and not accepted within our community, and that will discourage them. That, coupled with the efforts that we're taking, the law enforcement efforts, I really think we're early enough on this, we're going to get it whipped.
Good. Hello and welcome to Channel 15. You're on the air.
Yeah, my question would be, what kind of things are the City of Rutland and the police doing, maybe to be in contact or working with area towns and schools such as maybe Mill River, Otter Valley, and such?
Okay, thanks for your call. Who wants to take that one?
Do you want to take it, Dean?
Sure. Certainly this survey is going on, and one of the things that Jeff has organized is ongoing meetings in the community with the support net for these kids. And what we're sitting down and doing, it was amazing. We had probably, 40, 45 people at one meeting?
That was a subgroup.
That was a subgroup of the larger committee. And what we're looking at is where are the holes, who can patch those holes with what these kids need, and who's going to provide that. And if no one can provide it, can we get something together so that we can build what these kids need? Along with the kids owning part of that. Because I think one of the most important parts is that we include the kids in this. If we keep handing them things, they really won't appreciate it. They have to help build these solutions themselves too, and hopefully that's what we're going to be getting when we get all these questionnaires back and have tabulated them.
I might add that we've had representatives from just about all the area schools involved, and Jerry Kreitzer from the high school, who's done, I think, award-winning, if they had awards for such things, they ought to, award-winning work with his young people with the GMTI group, and they're looking at ways that they can look at this issue and listen to the youngsters, and then come up with ways for maybe the older kids in the high school, for example. He made a comment. He said to a freshman, "There's God, and then there's a high school senior, just below there." And the reality is, if we can mobilize using their plan, not ours, their plan, those upperclassmen in the high school to set the right role model and to get the information out and so forth, that could be one of the most effective things that we could do. And then that would be something that would have to be, probably county-wide.
Thanks. Keep those calls coming in, folks. We'll get you in. We'll roll over to the next hour if we have to. Hello and welcome to Channel 15. You're on the air.
Yeah, hi. I'm interested in knowing more about the hierarchy and the structure of these gangs. For instance, who picked these certain individuals to come up here from Holyoke, Mass, and gave them the agenda to organize and recruit kids up here? Who do they answer to? What do they get out of it for coming up here and doing that? Those types of things. I find it a little hard to believe that these kids, are that smart or intelligent or organized to be able to do that. Now, I could be naive, but if they are that good, then, boy, maybe we should get them turned around and doing some positive things in the community, because they sound like they have some smarts and some ability if they just use them in a positive way.
Thanks. I'll put that call to the chief. He should know most about that.
Well, like most large city violent gangs, they are very organized. They work off a charter, You know, I mean, it's fairly thick, and they're very specific in terms of how the gang itself is governed, who the leaders are, and their various ranks and hierarchy in the gangs. And they have a very strict discipline code within the gangs. And that's how they control themselves and how they maintain their family, as they call themselves. The lower and younger people within the gang usually are not in the higher positions. And obviously they don't usually make as much money, particularly from the sale of drugs. I mean, they're used to transport the drugs and sale and so forth, but they use the younger people for those kinds of things. And they generally use the younger people to do the recruiting or the scouts to go out to the other cities and make some judgment as to whether that may be a good area to start a gang in. I don't know that a decision has been made here, for example, to have an operational gang. We do know that there are people have been sent here to at least evaluate it and do some recruiting, but they are that well organized. And if you attended any of our public forums, we've handed out some documents that do describe the general organization of the gang that I won't go into here, but yes, they are organized.
Okay. Hello and welcome to Channel 15. You're on the air.
How you doing? Good evening, Jim. I think you recognize my voice.
Yep.
My question is, it has anything to do with gangs, and Jim has known me for quite a while now. I've been in and out of a lot of houses in this town and in this community, and it seems like some of the electrical conditions that are causing fires in this town are not being updated because we're not finding inspectors. Don't look at me like that, Jim. We find a lot of knob and tubing that has been outdated since 1940s and early 50s. Is there anybody in this town doing inspections on that?
Let me ask somebody here that may know. I think that's a little different here. We have electrical inspector in town, don't we?
Yeah, of course we do.
He was all over our veterans' house.
Yes, very much so. Obviously we have Jim Simons, who's the building inspector. We have assistant building inspector. Electrical inspections are done depending on the nature of the property, or the Department of Labor and Industry of the state, and through folks up at the fire department. The level of activity, I'm going to get real quick with this because it's kind of off the point, but the level of activity on inspections and building inspections, electrical and otherwise, has been increasing substantially over the last year or so, and I think it will continue to do so.
Hello and welcome to Channel 15. You're on the air.
Yes, I just had a question regarding, is there anything being done at a legislative level to pass tougher laws to deter people like this from committing these crimes, as opposed to just having the police go back and forth to put these people behind bars and then they end up on the street the next day? That was my question.
Thank you.
Excuse me, yes they have. You have racketeering laws both at the federal government level and at state government level. And probably some of the most success that we've had, we meaning the law enforcement community, with attacking the gangs has been with the RICO statutes. I was reading that in Connecticut, in the New Haven area, a year ago, they arrested some 33 gang members there of the Latin King gang, and they have just about rid the city of the gang, frankly. I mean, they took those 33 off. They are now in federal penitentiary, serving federal sentences. And that's been perhaps the most successful. Now, there are lots of other local crimes involved as well, and narcotics sale and distribution that a number of others were arrested for. But those have been very, very effective.
Look, folks, we're going to take a short break. Don't get discouraged. The numbers will be up on the screen. Keep calling in. We're just going to change tape. We'll be right back. Short break. Welcome back. We'll be going back to the phones in a very few minutes. Keep those calls coming in. Don't get discouraged. Meanwhile, during the break, we've had a couple phone calls that asked some questions, and the Chief has another tape that he thinks might explain a lot of the questions you have. Chief?
Thank you, Jim. This is a tape that was done by CBS, Dan Rather, on Eye on America about 6 or 8 months ago. And the tape depicts this same gang, the Los Salidos gang, in Hartford, Connecticut, just a few months back. And I think it will answer some of the questions concerning the influence of the gang, the size of the gang, the organization of the gang, and the leadership. And I think it would be good for the public to see this, so if we could have that.
Welcome back. Our phone lines are open. The numbers are on your screen. I encourage you to call. We still have time for more calls. Dean, does this ring any bells about Windsor, Ontario?
Unfortunately, it does, and also Detroit, just across the river. As I said earlier, it starts very low and then gains momentum, and that's when you start to see them. You generally don't see a lot of movement on the streets until they have a solid foundation, and that's what we have to try and stop at this point in time.
Let's go to the phones. Hello and welcome to Channel 15. You're on the air.
Yes, I was wondering if you could tell me something or where I could find information about the kind of colors or whatever you call them that the gangs wear, what their graffiti and things mean. I missed your other meetings at the Legion and things where I heard some of this was there. And I was just very interested to talk with my kids to kind of prepare them about something like that.
Okay, thanks for your call. We'll get it answered for you.
Thank you.
Well, first let me say that the public forum that we did at the Legion has been televised several times on Channel 15, and I understand that it will be televised again, so you don't have to miss all the information that's still on there. In terms of the colors and the symbols that they use, I'll mention just a few things right now. The colors are red and blue. They use beads, they use the red and blue beads in the color, often wear them in beads. Sometimes they'll wind a belt with red and blue. If they have dreadlocks, they'll sometimes tie them with red and blue ribbons, or they'll wear a red and blue handkerchief on their head. They display them in a number of different ways. The basic symbol of the Los Solitos, the gang that is here, the one that you saw on the Dan Rather tape, are two theatrical masks, the happy and sad face, comedy and tragedy face as we know them. And those are often in tattoos, or they're on those silver belts that you saw in the Dan Rather film, and that's also used in some of their graffiti. The graffiti ranges from initials, Los Solitos Nation, LSN, to Los Solitos Forever and Family Forever and Forever Family. There's a lot of different kinds of graffiti that they use. Now, all of those are depicted in that tape that Channel 15 has of the public forum at the Legion.
Okay, thanks. Let's go to another call here. Hello and welcome to Channel 15. You're on the air.
Yes, my question is probably for the chief as much as anyone, but my concern is I live in an outlying town. Is there any possibility that these gangs are spreading out into the smaller towns that surround Rutland? And if so, what can we do as citizens who live nearby Rutland?
Thanks for your call.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I think that throughout Rutland County, I talked to the chief of police in Brandon today, and they've identified 8 members of the Los Solitos that are presently living in Brandon in different locations. We know that they do live in Clarendon and in West Rutland and in Rutland and in Brandon and probably places that we don't know yet.
Hello and welcome to Channel 15. You're on the air.
Yeah, just a comment to the panel. The general public is very strong-willed and protective of themselves, of their property, and has there been any address to the vigilante groups that may be forming to comprehend what's going on with the gangs?
I'll get that question answered for you. Thank you.
I would like to address that right now. I think perhaps the most dangerous thing that we could do in Rutland is to form any kind of vigilante groups, or anybody tries in any way to try to take the gang on, or any member. Very frankly, the very first situation that we had was when some of our local youth attacked the gang, and they did hurt them. And 2 of those youths have been charged with hate crimes because there were racial slurs involved. And I'm just afraid that if some of the local youth try to retaliate, they may want to form a gang themselves, and that would be worse yet. I think it's more important that we do educate ourselves and do everything that we can to try to influence our young people to stay away from the gangs and to discourage the gangs from forming. But the vigilante groups would be extremely dangerous. I would be totally opposed to that. Mayor?
Yeah, I'd like to second what the chief said and just offer the following. That is a serious concern. I want to emphasize, I've said this before, I'm going to say it a different way, just to emphasize it. The numbers are very small. Their interest is clear. Their pattern of practice and their history and so forth makes it very clear. Their interest is not to do crimes to property, not to do crimes to the general public. If they were to go out and do some kind of a spree or something like that, they'd blow their cover. They wouldn't be able to attract any followers in the region, and the law enforcement agencies would have more than enough opportunity to remove them and put them in incarceration or export them, whatever the case may be. That is not their interest. That's not their pattern. That's not what they're up about. That's not what they're about. So people who are concerned about their property or their personal safety really ought to. I mean, it's always good to be concerned about that, but ought not to be overly concerned because these people are here and because they're trying to operate this gang. What we should be concerned about is our young people. They're the ones that are at risk, not us, not our houses, not our cars, not our personal safety, my personal safety. It's our children, our young people. And they're at risk for 2 reasons. Number one, there's a very attractive and insidious opportunity being presented to them that's very, very compelling. If you listen, these people are very good and very smooth and very persuasive, especially to people who feel powerless. But the other reason is because we do have people, young people in the community, who do feel powerless or do feel unloved or unwanted. And we have an equal responsibility as a community to go out and fill those gaps in their lives. If they can't get it at home, then we'll have to find another way. If they can't get it from the community, then we'll change the community. But I want to urge people that if you want to do something positive to address this issue, take care of our young people. If you know a neighbor's kid that's not getting attended to, don't just look the other way. Step in some positive, constructive way. Provide that youngster with some guidance. If you don't know what to do or how to do it, call Dean. Call some of the folks. We have lots of people around here who know how to do this stuff. If we're going to take action, let's take proactive action to make sure that we've got the most loving, welcome, healthy community for our young people. A gang can't flourish and grow in a community that is like that. If we make this community that way, we won't have to worry about vigilantes or anything because they won't have anything to do here.
Hello and welcome to Channel 15. You're on the air.
Hi, yeah, I just have a few comments. I think that I'm a student at one of the area high schools. I think that there are a lot of parents that still are completely naive about the situation, even with all the awareness things you've been doing. I've lived in Rutland my entire life, but I've also lived in big cities from time to time. And people are just believe that, yeah, it's here, but there's no way it's going to affect me. And I mean, I believe that the awareness, the groups that you're holding and all that, I think that they're good, but I don't think that people are fully getting what the effect of this gang in the area is. I also don't think that a lot of the high school kids are going to get lured in as easily as some of you may think. Being a student myself, we realize the dangers that it entails, and we understand what's going on. So I don't think as many people as some people believe will be dragged into the gang.
Thanks for your call. We'll see what everybody has to say about it.
Maybe I could respond to that. I think that what happens is, she's right, the majority of students are not at risk. It's the students on the periphery, the students who feel alienated, not part of anything, and I think that she is probably, and other students are probably the best hope that we have. What we're trying to do is get other students, as you mentioned, next to a freshman in school, if you can match them up with seniors, we can almost guarantee that there won't be involvement. As long as people feel wanted and needed in this community, they won't look elsewhere to find what they need. And I think the student body of the various high schools, with again starting with this questionnaire, is a good point. But we also have to get the students revved up and get them owning some of their kids that are on the periphery. And the kids can identify them already. I mean, they are the best. They already know who are potential gang members, and if they want to act responsibly, they can start working to bring them back.
Hello and welcome to Channel 15. You're on the air.
Yeah, I was just thinking during the process of enticing young people to join the gangs using drugs and alcohol, couldn't you keep them pretty busy with contributing charges and so forth to keep them off the streets?
Good question. I'll put it to the chief.
We do that when it's applicable. But since they have been in Rutland, they've gone to most of their association, social association has been in the 2 teen clubs that we have here in Rutland, neither of which serve alcohol. There was one situation where we did make an arrest for underage alcohol consumption and possession of marijuana on one of the gang members. But these are minor crimes, and they're not the eventual answer. We will continue to do that when we see that. And in some cases, when we've seen the juveniles that are here, and that is under 17 years old, that are here and they have no parental support and no supervision at all, we've gone ahead and incarcerated them as children in need of supervision, turn them over to SRS, and in all 4 cases that we've had like that, we've returned them all to Massachusetts to their homes. So these minor things are important, these minor infractions, and we will continue to enforce those. But that's not going to be the answer.
And quite frankly, they're not really enticing them away with alcohol and drugs. What they're enticing them with is friendship and a sense of belonging, and they call themselves the family.
Support.
Support is what they're offering them, and it starts off with even just simple gifts.
So basically, they're not going for the jocks and the preppies and the kids that are in with crowds. What they're going is the disenfranchised kids that are...
That's right. The kids that are isolated, the loners off to the side, and we have to be able to start bringing them back into the community.
Let's take another call here. Hello and welcome to Channel 15. You're on the air.
Yes, I'm a teen from a local town, and I was wondering basically what I could do to protect myself from being enticed into the gang members, I just want to know how I could identify them and keep myself away from them without being rude or anything.
Let me answer that question. I'll get it to Dean.
Well, I think the easiest way is they come up and just offer friendship, and I think if you say, I'm not interested. I heard of a local teen at the Rutland Fair who, her boyfriend had just won her a small dog, and one of the Los Alitos came up with a huge dog and said, hey, would you like this? Simple things like that they try to come up with, and when she kept saying no, then he started working on the boyfriend. How about this? Doesn't your girlfriend deserve a better trophy? Why don't you take mine and I'll take yours? Something simple like that, and they both said, we're not interested, thank you very much, and just walked away. If they get no attention and are ignored, that's the best solution, if you don't pay them any mind. But also, be aware and keep your eye open for those kids that are interacting. And I think that's where you can help, because if we have nothing to offer those kids, they'll be brought in very quickly.
We still have open lines here, folks, and a few minutes to go, so if you have some questions, get them in. Hello and welcome to Channel 15. You're on the air.
Yes, I would be interested in learning a little bit about how the city of Rutland might be using the current gang problems to foster and develop community policing. And I'm kind of operating from the assumption that it's only community policing when you ask citizens to become actively involved in solutions in very tangible ways.
Thanks for your question. We have 2 open lines here, folks. Get your questions in before we go off. Chief?
He's right, and that's exactly what we're involved in and why we are involving the community in the solution to this problem. We're not suggesting that this is totally a police responsibility. This is a community social responsibility, and we are asking the entire community, all the other kinds of social groups, service groups to become involved. We're asking the parents, the schools to become involved. This is a community project, and this is part of our community policing program.
But we're also interested in re-energizing the Neighborhood Watch
That's right.
program because of the concern that's out there, and that's a positive response to a concern that's been raised. And maybe you can speak to that, or who people could call. And
Yes, but you can, for any of these matters, you can call our community policing office, Officer Bob Garuso, whether it's a Neighborhood Watch program you're looking for, if it's information about the gangs, if it's how to get involved, he'll get you, or he'll provide names or telephone numbers to get you in touch with people that can help, or in the schools or wherever we have people helping in the various areas.
Hello and welcome to Channel 15. You're on the air.
Yes, I was calling to find out what your department believes that the gang's goal is as far as being in the state of Vermont.
Okay, I think we've covered that. We'll try it again. Thank you. What's their goal in being in Vermont?
Again, we may not know specifically the reason they're here. We know what the goals of the gangs are. The Solitos would like to have a gang in every state in the Union. We know that they would like to recruit and increase their numbers. We also know that they need additional funds, and we see that there is a market here for drugs, and at this time there are no other gangs controlling those drugs here. And so if they could get control of all of the crime within the city, they could make a lot of money. I don't know that any one of these specific things are their goal, but within those goals, I've hit one of them. I mean, one of them is the right one.
Chief, one question that's been on my mind is, these kids predominantly come from Connecticut and Massachusetts, where there is pretty tight gun control. In the state of Vermont, everybody and his brother has got something in the back of the pickup or something under the seat. What I have been afraid of myself is that somebody's going to be approached on a dark street or something, and before he even thinks what's going on, one of these kids is going to get blown away by some nervous citizen of Vermont who's well armed. How have you been approaching that? Have you given that some thought?
Well, we haven't made any attempt to really change the gun laws in Vermont.
I understand that part.
That's almost an
But I think
impossibility.
this is a realistic scenario with Vermonters and short tempers.
And I am concerned about, and that's why I'm so concerned about people trying to retaliate against the gangs. I'm a little more concerned about if they are displaying these weapons and things in their truck. That's a rather poor idea, because there's a bigger chance that they get stolen and someone will get hurt with them that way. So I would not recommend leaving these rifles and shotguns in the back of trucks and so forth. Display them there. But because the liberal gun laws are as they are in Vermont, this gives an opportunity for the gangs also to carry weapons much easier than they do in Massachusetts, for example. And that's a major concern of ours, because they're still sort of under the Massachusetts mentality, in that they're afraid to carry the guns because they're afraid they'll be arrested for simply having it, and it's a felony there. Well, it's not even a crime here. That is going to create some other problems within our control of the gangs itself.
Let's take our last call here before we go off the air. Hello, welcome to Channel 15. You're on the air.
I've got a couple of questions. First off, are we utilizing any outside gang prevention experts to help out with this problem? Second question would be, let's see if I can remember what it is. There's been some evidence about smoking and reaching into the earlier grades, first, second, third grade. Is that similar, say, with gang activity, that we need to get at children at very, very young ages before they're enticed? And is it not too late by the time they get into the high school? Thank you.
Thank you.
The second part of that question first. We present the DARE program, which is a drug alcohol abuse prevention program, to all of the 5th and 6th grade children in our school district in the city of Rutland and in the parochial schools. There is about a 2 or 3 week session of that, or section of the DARE program that's taught in all these schools, that is specifically preventing the children from, and giving them a means to prevent them from going into the gangs. It's a very educational and good program, so we're doing that in terms of...
Well, we're coming to the end of our time, folks. I want to thank the panel. I want to thank the folks that called in. Been great response. I hope we all learned something. I sure did. And thanks for being our guest on tonight's show. I hope we can do something similar again soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate it.